All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. I got another watch list for you, but what happened today? We really got to talk about it. So I have a bunch of pretty pictures to show you, but let me start off with this. I am getting owned right now. And why I'm bringing this up? Because it's going to make these pretty pictures make sense, and it should highlight how important Jerome Powell tomorrow truly is. So I'm sure you know Mr. NQ right here. He's been a little a-hole with all of this, but look at the yen and look at the bonds. Both of these plays not too long ago, I was up a lot on them, and now they have flipped. But why that's so important? Because the yen is related to the dollar, and the bonds is related to pretty much everything. And what happened in the bond market today, I'm telling you, it was a massive repricing. So why that's important? Well, here, let me show you. So this right here is that game of chicken we've talked about, but if you've been watching, this should be very, very weird because all of a sudden, the Fed futures are right below the lowest of the dot plot. I think Jerome Powell, he must be very excited about this, but this is definitely highlighting a big change. Let me just show you. Before the beginning of this month, it was actually below 4.5, and then even after Jerome Powell a couple days ago, it was at 4.3, and within 2 days now, you have recovered all of it. This is a very big deal because it's showing the bond market shifting, the yen, and what we've talked about. That had to do with the rumor, but now the dollar is going back up, and people are kind of looking around like, wait a minute, I thought things are doing better, and well, take a look at the market. If anything, the market has not moved as much as the bonds and dollars. So here's the final pretty picture. Essentially, over the last year, anytime the market has gone up and the bonds did not play along, well, pretty much you get rocketed right back down, and now people are getting worried about tomorrow. So you have Jerome Powell tomorrow. I got a little bit more updates on that, but now we need to talk about how things are playing out because it seems like the rally is slowing down a little bit, or at the very least, the amount of jitters coming into tomorrow, it is actually increased. So if you were watching the watch list yesterday, I was telling you, usually, Powell, if he's going to keep the same stance, it would have been bullish if anything. I didn't expect people to be that shocked, but after the last couple of days, the dollar now and everything, it's looking like tomorrow's about to be a pretty big event. So we got a lot to talk about. I got the plays for you. I have the keys. We're going to talk about even what I did today, and I'm not the only one. A lot of people are using this opportunity to kind of chill out a little bit because we've rallied a lot. If it rallies even more, it's going to get crazy, or this was a good opportunity to really maximize some profits. So there's a bunch on the table. It's going to be wild. And Chad, we better see you there. We're going to be streaming Powell live, youtube.com/The Stock Market. Run it, baby.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
But right off the bat, I'm excited. So make sure you like the video, okay? If you like anything on this channel, if you like any of the information, it helps us out a lot. It's all free 99. Okay, don't let me go too crazy. But the bond market today, this was a massive blink. Again, we've been talking about the game of chicken. It's all about who flinches first, and literally all of a sudden now the bonds have blinked, and they have blinked in a massive fashion. So literally the repricing today in this short amount of time, this was huge, and why it's so important, especially when you pair it up with the yen, and now the yen starts weakening again, is that this could cause another one of those mini death loops with the dollar. Essentially, if yields go higher, that could spark the dollar getting stronger. Dollar getting stronger could now feed back into weaker currencies. That could factor into even more higher yields, or vice versa, really. All it takes is for one of them to react. So that was a big part about today. And if you've been watching, we have been bringing this up, but take a look at the dollar. Even after hours, it popped up a little bit, but do you notice something we've been saying all year from January 12th all the way up until like right around Powell? The bonds or the dollar didn't move at all, and now you've just popped up and you're getting back up to this level. This is a big move, and this is what I'm saying. Even though the market has came down a little bit, it's definitely not as big as what you're watching with the dollar. Essentially, if the market was going to go back to where the dollar was, I mean, I think that would bring the market right back down to 385. So factor that into everything. And then if we even go back a little bit throughout the dollar and throughout the year, it kind of reminds me at the beginning of August, because that was a moment dollar went up a lot. It chilled out for a little bit, definitely not as much time as there, but then right when it kind of gapped down and then rocketed back up again, and we had that little dollar doom loop, well, you saw what happened with the markets in August. So this is getting really interesting, and that is why now Powell is going to be so key. So as far as the time, you're going to get Powell tomorrow, 12:40 p.m. Eastern. I strongly advise that you are there on stream. This might be another one of those events. Even though we've already heard from Powell, people are definitely nervous about it. And even today, Raphael Bostic, he's a non-voting Fed member. He had unscheduled comments today. He just popped up on Bloomberg out of nowhere. He wasn't supposed to be there, and he dropped this idea of bringing back 50 basis points. So he's already said that in the past, but now after the strong jobs report, and really that is the answer to all of this. It's like, why did the bonds do this massive repricing? It was all because of the jobs. And usually, or the last couple of weeks here, we've seen the market ignore it, but it seems like this is factoring it in. And sure enough, you might have Powell bring something up on it, and it looks like the market's kind of getting sketched out by it. So Bostic, he brought up 50 basis points. He brought up the strong dollar. Now, this is what we want to see tomorrow. What does Powell do? If Powell says it himself, and, Powell's kind of kept it even. He hasn't been forceful, but if he kind of starts hammering that home, well, hey, the data's like this, we could do this, and he kind of, leaves it up in the air for the bonds to decide, that's where things are really going to get volatile tomorrow. So that is your second key, and coming into the final key now, you have CPI next week, and it's really looking like now this week is going to be all about the digestion from Powell. Now that we get him tomorrow, you just had him off of the FOMC. We're going to spend this whole week deciding it, and this is the week now where big divergences will either be created or they are going to stabilize into next week. Now, I have an interesting theory about CPI. I'm going to share it here later if you were on stream today. We brought it up. I'll probably make a separate video on it next week, but essentially, this CPI is going to be an interesting one, because now, if the market's already tweaking out this early, well, then maybe the CPI is going to be harder to read. So be on the lookout for it. That's why you got to be subscribed with the bell, baby. But those are the main keys. As far as everything else now, it should be pretty simple. And, well, let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different plays. I actually made a lot of plays today. We'll go over them, but I want to start with these 3 plays right here: Google, AI, and Baidu. There's a couple of other plays out there, but what I am talking about is the artificial intelligence plays, and the way it's looking like right now, it's going to be the next EV bubble. You remember about a year or two ago, anybody said EV this, Bitcoin that, NFT that, boom, 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 stocks would rocket. Well, it looks like the same thing is happening with AI, and a lot of these big companies are starting to mention it. So what I'm trying to tell you here, don't fall in love with them, but use this kind of back and forth with the market and this news to get some good flips, but you might be on the precipice of a bubble forming, or at least a lot of hype. So keep that in mind. Baidu is my favorite out of all of these. Even Google, if it goes back lower than where we sold it after the earnings. But Baidu, they got the China optimism, and the only way they'll come down is if there's more of these China tensions that we've seen in the last couple of days. So thought that was very interesting. Definitely watch out for that. That is play number 1. Then play number 2, baby, Airbnb. So they have earnings next week, and it's going to coincide with CPI. So that will be the other headwind alongside this play. But now it could feed off of Uber and some of the other travel stocks. Uber showed a lot of resilience today, but the thing about Airbnb that I've been talking about is that if you overlay it with Booking, it seems like Airbnb has made some really, really big moves. Oh, no, take a look at Booking. It is outpacing by a lot. So if you go back throughout the years, they've actually held a very tight correlation over the last 2 years. Last time Booking was trading above Airbnb, Booking came down. And then last time Airbnb was above Booking, Airbnb came down. And, well, you have it happening here again. And that's what I'm saying. Beyond just these plays, this will be the week of divergences. And even coming into next week, we might see a lot formulate. So keep that one in mind. But I'm definitely going to be watching Airbnb for that earnings run-up play. I don't have any other plays besides my old leap in shares. So we will see what happens. And then play number 3, baby. Bank stocks. So I realized this middle of the day, the bonds moved crazy, the yields were up, and it seems like the bond market is believing this idea that the Fed will actually stay higher for longer. And if that comes true and the rates stay higher, the banks seem to be like the only winner, because as long as the consumer doesn't collapse, unemployment is still good, and now interest rates do in fact stay higher. They're benefiting off of it. Even the short-term rate expectations, they're benefiting off of it. They're getting that OIER or IOER, yeah, interest on excess reserves. But the only problem here is that the banks still have a premium, and they've all been doing fairly good since their earnings. So I only have my JP Morgan shares in the long term. If we do get a dip, I will want to keep an eye on these. I think they will be able to outperform, but we got to see how everything plays out, especially following what Powell says. So those are the main plays. As far as everything else now, let's go to what I did here. Not only, I think the ES and NQ and all that's important, but one thing I had an idea, Friday, it seemed a little trappy. I made a couple of bad plays with like the Disney and the Tesla. I just took my losses. I closed out of Disney. I took a loss on this one. It was like 180 or 150. Closed out Tesla. This was like a $300 loss. Apple, $700 loss. And again, thankfully I had a good Apple flip, so all of those combined, I still walked away with some profit, but I wanted to clear things up. I even closed the old GE. And one thing I'm doing is I want to pretty much clear up any shorts that I have. I only have like 1 or 2 left. I might keep all of these, but my idea is I don't want a lot of scragglers out there. I've been making a couple of plays here and there. I still got stuff just hanging on. I even closed the AAL. That was like a $30 loss or something, but my idea here is now I want to be able to really focus on what we have here, and now the NQ, the ES, and all of that, they're big enough for me to start doing damage, and that's really what I'm going to be waiting on. So really the next couple of days, even into tomorrow, I want to close anything that's not looking too good, and I am biased towards closing shorts, not because I don't think the market will go down, but simply because I don't want to have too much exposure. And the problem is I just feel like it's really trappy up here, in the sense of I made some of these plays. I'm trying to balance out the upside, but my problem was now a lot of these prices are high, so if I don't get a good price and then it comes down, I could easily get trapped on both sides. So now with the bonds and yen coming down, that's what I'm worried about. So keep that in mind. As far as everything else, I'm still in the PayPal. This is one that I was considering cutting. They got a downgrade, but they do have earnings on Thursday, so we'll see how we could play out for that one. Like I said, I'm probably going to be holding the Boeing, and then the LMT, they came back a little bit there, so I like how both of these are playing out. The LMT was a bigger loss earlier, so for that to come out, it's good. But other than that, I think even like materials and utilities, I have those, and then my old Qualcomm short. But the idea is any plays, win or loss over the last couple weeks, I want to start clearing them out there, be able to kind of reload, see where the market is at, and then take advantage of better positioning rather than kind of following the momentum. So we'll see what happens, but either way, by tomorrow, we're going to get a big event here, and I think it's going to be exciting. So, Chad, I hope you're ready, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember, baby, don't worry about the missing pieces. Sometimes the missing pieces are a blessing. You got to vibe with it, take advantage of it, and use these opportunities to grow, develop, and remember, if you make it through the fire, all that comes out is gold. But, Chad, you got to get ready. We have a lot of excitement in store. But, dude, you're already ready for it. You're already ready for this. I told you prepare. That's why you got to keep the right mindset. Don't be afraid to call timeout. Get back on defense. Them free throws, baby. It's game time. And before you know it, man, every couple of months, watch the narrative switch. But if you know what's going on, go with what you know and not what you feel, baby. But, Chad, I love you. I will see you in the morning. Get ready for an awesome day tomorrow. And peace out.